Motivation. Thanks to Manchester City's FA Cup final success yesterday, 8th place in the Premier League is officially a guaranteed ticket to the Europa Conference League next season. Sitting right there in 8th on 51 points this afternoon, Brentford completely control their own destiny. 2 games remain, 2 victories, starting right here on home soil, will guarantee Brentford Football Club a historic first ever European voyage. But if the Bees are playing with the heavy pressure of immediate history on their shoulders, Crystal Palace arrive across the capital, playing with the intoxicating freedom of a club that has already won. Sitting 15th in the table on 44 points, Oliver Glasner's men are mathematically safe, structurally sound, and entirely unburdened by domestic anxiety. Their true focus lies 10 days down the line as they cross the English Channel to face La Liga's Rayo Vallecano in the Europa Conference League final in Leipzig on May the 27th. And for Palace, there is a poetic, deeply romantic symmetry to today's date for the visitors. Exactly 1 year ago today, on the 17th of May 2025, Oliver Glasner masterminded one of the greatest days in Crystal Palace history, guiding his team to a breathless victory over Manchester City at Wembley to lift the FA Cup. That landmark afternoon sparked an unprecedented, gruelling 60-game marathon across domestic and European fronts this season. And while a brutal winter schedule and the January sale of captain Mark Gahey caused their league form to step backward, the continental dream has never flickered. Now, as Glasner prepares for his final away league game before his summer departure, he wants to leave one final piece of silverware in the trophy cabinet. To get to that footprint, Brentford must complete their own miracle. The summer of 2025 was supposed to be the summer the wheels came off this club. Thomas Frank departed for Tottenham, taking his blueprint with him, while a staggering 39 goals vanished out the exit door as Brian Mbeumo, Johan Wissa and Christian Norgard were lured away. The pundits pinned a target on Brentford's back and priced them for relegation. Instead, rookie head coach Keith Andrews has delivered an absolute masterclass of collective resilience. He didn't just steady a sinking ship, he completely weaponised Brentford's directness, turning them into the most lethal transition unit in the country. And here they stand on the precipice of European qualification. Well, the managers have added in their team sheets and both dugouts have made calculated adjustments to their starting 11s today. Oliver Glasner has made 5 changes from the side that fell to Manchester City in midweek, prioritising a heavily controlled rhythm while managing workloads ahead of Leipzig. In a complete reshuffle of the forward line, Jürgen Strand-Larsen and Ismail Assar are recalled to the starting lineup, which means Jean-Philippe Mateta and Brennan Johnson drop to the bench. The central midfield engine room is completely rotated as well, with the creative duo of Adam Wharton and Daichi Kamada returning to command the middle of the park in the place of Will Hughes and Jefferson Lerma. The final alteration comes in the back 3, where Shadi Riyad gets the nod over Chris Richards. So it's Dean Henderson in goal, the centre-backs Riyad, Lacroix and young JD Canvo, the wing-backs Munoz on the right, Mitchell on the left, the midfield pivot made up of Adam Wharton and Daichi Kamada. On the attacking midfield roles, Ismail Assar and Yeremy Pino. Jürgen Strand-Larsen leads the line. As for the hosts, Keith Andrews rings 2 crucial changes of his own as he chases that European passport. The headline news for the Bees is a massive emotional and tactical boost in the centre of the park. Vitaly Janelt starts for the first time since suffering a brutal metatarsal injury back in February. His return sparks a significant tactical domino effect across the pitch. It allows Keane Lewis-Potter to drop back into a traditional left-back role, which in turn frees Mikkel Damsgaard from his defensive responsibilities. Further forward, Dango Ouattara is recalled to the starting lineup to inject raw pace into the transition, with Kevin Schade making way to start from the dugout. They are underway in West London. For Brentford, it's Kelleher in goal. A back 4 of Coyote, Ayer, Collins and Keane Lewis-Potter. Midfield trio, Janelt alongside Jensen and Yarmiluk, Dango Ouattara, Damsgaard, and the second top goal scorer in the Premier League with 22 this season, Igor Thiago, leading the line. Palace with early possession, getting forward, and here's Daichi Kamada popping up in a little bit of space on the edge of the penalty area. Sarr can turn, try to strike, lost his footing as he did, and Brentford will carry it away. Will this be a day of historic domestic celebration for Keith Andrews' history chasing bees? They found Eagle Thiago here. Lacroix pulled across. Maybe Jensen across the face of the penalty area. Ball on the left-hand side. It's Ouattara trying to sort his feet out. It's over the crossbar and into the crowd behind. A bright start from both of these two sides in the opening minute. Official today, Sam Barrett. He took charge of this exact fixture last year. You might remember Abere Ezza's free kick was chalked off for what was a controversial decision. And he takes it again today. Well, a little bit of respite after the opening pass is being pinged around. We'll get back to that shortly, because it's Strand Larsen with a knee to Pino. Ismail Assar, was he taken down by Quivin Kelleher? Palace thinks so. Sam Barrett points to the corner flag. The Palace players surround the referee. It was a clever little run from Ismail Assar. It looked to me like Keane Lewis Potter stepped across Sarr's path, and then Quivin Kelleher comes sprawling out, trying to get something on it. Sarr seems to be going down potentially in stages there, which I think is what has convinced Barrett to point to the corner flag. Well, there's no touch from a Brentford player on the way through. It's one that will be looked at by VAR. And an early delay here. There's certainly contact between Ismail Assar and the goalkeeper. And this isn't how Brentford wanted to start the game. Palace bright in the opening exchanges, and now Ismail Assar, one of the stars of the season, 20 across all competitions, might have just won his side a penalty. Sam Barrett has been called across to the pitch side monitor. Paul Howard is the VAR today. And Sam Barrett will have a little look himself. He was just knocked off balance initially by Keane Lewis Potter, Ismail Assar, and then Quivin Kelleher has completed the tumble, it seems. Makes contact with his trailing leg. He's trying to pull out of the challenge, Quivin Kelleher. The discussions continuing between the officials. He's made his mind up, Sam Barrett, I think. He'll wander back onto the pitch and announce his decision. And it's going to be a penalty. Sam Barrett says after review the Brentford goalkeeper commits a foul on the Crystal Palace number 7. So Palace with a penalty. Potentially 2 challenges in there that could have been penalised. The first from Keane Lewis Potter. The second, though, from Quivin Kelleher, much clearer. So a chance from the penalty spot, and it's Ismail Assar who has the ball tucked under his arm. Perfect record from penalties so far this season. Quivin Kelleher has saved one earlier this year. Sarr versus Kelleher. Sarr tucks it into the corner. Palace take the lead. Kelleher went the right way, diving away to his right. Brentford will feel aggrieved. It wasn't a clear-cut penalty, not by any stretch of the imagination, but Palace get the benefit of the doubt from the officials. It's revealing how few complaints there are from the Brentford players. Goal number 21 across all competitions for the season for Ismaïla Sarr. He's been their most potent attacker in Europe. Only beaten in domestic action by Jean-Philippe Mateta, who was on the bench today and probably would have taken it if he'd started. But that's a vast improvement from the way they went against Manchester City in midweek. And a real body blow to Brentford's hopes of European qualification. Plenty of time, though, left in this game. Palace with the early break. Laid off by Sarr to Daniel Munoz. And that's back by JD Canvo to the goalkeeper Henderson. Lifts it forward. Sarr was rather caught underneath the flight of the ball, and Brentford have picked it up in midfield. Yanalt to his left, Keane Lewis Potter forward. There is Maxence Lacroix with the header. Jensen can't get it to settle. Sarr will. Here's Munoz again, returns it to Ismaïla Sarr. Those two dovetail ever so well. And Sarr persistent. The first pass towards Jurgen Strand-Larsen was misplaced. Yarmoliuk breaks it up and then slides in to win it back off Ismaïla Sarr. Two centre-backs. Season. Lifted in by Coyote from that left-hand side. It was Ouattara, in fact, with the delivery. But it's too close to Henderson, who will hold on to it. Bill trying to keep you up to speed with all the permutations across the Premier League today. Throwing out on that right-hand side for Daniel Munoz, the clearance from Quivine Keller. Well, Manchester United 3-2 winners over Nottingham Forest. Bit of controversy in that one as Brian and Burmo avoided a penalty for a handball. That's in by Munoz towards the corner of the 6-yard box. Clearance away by Collins, only as far as Mitchell. Back to Munoz. Now Mitchell on halfway, fed by Canvo. Canvo back to Kamada. Tries to angle one out to the right-hand side. That bounces off the byline. And that's out of play for a goal kick. Yeah, Manchester United 3-2 winners over Nottingham Forest. Forest felt massively aggrieved there. Brian and Burmo seem to have handled for one of their goals. It's goalless in the other three fixtures, kicking off at 3 o'clock local time. Everton taking on Sunderland, Leeds versus Brighton, and Wolves versus Fulham. Put that all into perspective. Brentford coming into today in 8th place. They'll be hoping for a result today to try and leapfrog Brighton into 7th. That would be good enough for your Europa League spot as things stand. We can talk you through all the potential permutations. That FA Cup victory for Manchester City redraws the continental map. Sarr again on the edge of the penalty area. That bounces away from him. Yarmoliuk tidying things up. Well, 6th and 7th place in the Premier League will now secure a Europa League spot, while 8th place, as things stands, gets you into the Conference League. But there is a bit of a sliding doors twist on the horizon if Villa go on to win the Europa League final against Freiburg in Istanbul next week and finish 5th in the league. The entire deck gets reshuffled. In that exact scenario, 6th place would actually be elevated to a Champions League spot. Here's Ouattara getting forward. Laid off to Thiago. Jensen trying to make himself available at the back post. Here's Damsgaard. Will look for Jensen, gets his head on the ball, but there's Canvo tidying things up for Crystal Palace. For 6th place to become a Champions League spot, England would sacrifice its 2nd Europa League place, leaving 7th with the Europa League and 8th with the Conference League. For Brentford, they'll be looking for one of those top 8 places. 6th is still within their mathematical grasp. Bournemouth coming into this round of fixtures just 5 points ahead of Brentford. If results go Brentford's way, they could be in the Champions League next season. Lovely touch from Pino, trying to tie it in behind for Ismail Assar, too close to the goalkeeper Keller. And then just to add another little twist into things, if Palace win that Conference League final on May the 27th, they bypass the table entirely and qualify straight for next season's Europa League. So in many ways, England could have 9 European representatives in continental competition next season. Popped out of play by Maxence Lacroix. Ingle Thiago takes his place at the back post ahead of this set piece. He's just been nominated for Player of the Season. One of his rivals, Bruno Fernandes, recorded his 20th assist of the season, matching the all-time record earlier on this afternoon. Jan Elch into Jensen, in towards the 6-yard box. That's away by Strand Larsen. Awkward one for Munoz to deal with. Damsgaard, Jensen, header backwards towards Janelt. Stooping was Kamada. Now here comes Yeremy Pino down the left-hand side. Clever ball inside. He was left dumped over the touchline was Yeremy Pino, but Kamada will come away with it. Now Adam Wharton in a central position. Wharton tries to flash it through to Strand Larsen. Might come out to Adam Wharton into the path of Daniel Munoz. Pushed away by Keller in front of the near post. That'll be a Palace corner. He's got a very good goal-scoring record, Daniel Munoz. Plenty of them last season. 4 in the league this season for Daniel Munoz. A total of 5, including that 1 goal in the Conference League. He scored 11 across over 104 appearances for Crystal Palace since making the move from Genk. That one was on his less favoured left foot, though, as he made the overlapping run. Just bounced off the heels from Strand Larsen on to Adam Wharton, who kept it moving. So Wharton back post, not a bad effort. Wharton winds one up on the volley, and that's over the crossbar. Decent ball from Yeremy Pino initially. Who was looking towards the back post. Strong from Nathan Collins to make sure Shadi Riyad couldn't get there. Zaya with the clearing header, in fact, and then Wharton just sat up nicely for the half volley. Couldn't keep his effort down. Maybe trying to force his way into Thomas Tuchel's plans for the World Cup coming up in the United States, Mexico and Canada. Appearance number 93 for Crystal Palace. And would you believe it, he's never scored for the club. His last goal in senior football came in his final game as a Blackburn Rovers player. Back in 2024. An effort from the edge of the penalty area, and Palace causing Brentford all kinds of problems here. Strand Larsen this time drawing a save out of Quivin Keller, a bit too close to the Irishman. There's a header down from Yarmuluk and opened up for Strand Larsen. Got options in front of him, but decided to go alone. Spent a lot of money on the Norwegian international. Palace have picked it off again in the Brentford half of the pitch. Here's Yeremy Pino into the path of Ismail Assar, and that's off the frame of the goal. Drops Assar again, right hand side of the penalty area, and a win the corner. It was right off the angle of post and crossbar. Jensen was caught napping, dispossessed by Pino. It loops up off the crossbar, drops back to Ismail Assar. It wins the corner. Palace making a really good account of themselves here in the early stages. Plays short to Pino, edge of the penalty area. Wharton back in there. Riyad with the header. An awkward one. He was heading away from goal. Had to try and adjust his body. Not too far away there from the near post, but one that Kevin Keller was comfortable, was always drifting wide. Entertaining fair here in West London. Here's Ayer. It's a Collins in the centre circle. Lewis Potter back across the back line. Clip forward towards Ouattara. Good defending from Shadi Riyad. It's his 8th appearance of the season, Shadi Riyad, in league action. He's won it back. This time it's out of play though, and that will be a throw-in for Brentford down in front of the dugouts below us. You have to feel for Shadi Riyad, who was brought in back in 2024, but his Palace career really curtailed by injury. A cruciate ligament tear picked up in August of that year, kept him out for quite a long time. He's only really been in the first team picture recently. Brentford with the corner. Looks like it'll be Vitaly Janelt to take this one from the near side. The crossbar away by Munoz, and Mitchell will scoop it further clear. Picked up by Pino. Holds the ball up looking for Munoz. Ouattara will keep it moving. Here is Janelt again on the right hand side, left-footed cross, swinging in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Sarr lifts it away following the clearing header from Strand Larsen. Forward by Janelt, straight to Riyad. Wharton base of midfield. There's Canvo. Lacroix will relish the battle with the Eagle Thiago today. Recently named in France's squad for the World Cup alongside Jean-Philippe Mateta. Here's Lacroix. Across to Mitchell. Mitchell for Sarr, Sarr for Pino. First time passing here from Palace inside the Brentford half of the pitch. Wharton to the left-hand side. Here is Tyrick Mitchell. Mitchell for Kamada. Let it run across his body. Now he'll find Adam Wharton. 30 yards from goal. Between the lines is Pino. Moves it to the right-hand side. Munoz tried the low cross. It was against keen Lewis Potter. That'll be a corner for Crystal Palace. The set pieces have done wonders for Brentford this season. Palace have conceded quite a few from these kind of positions, but so far today they look the more likely side to add to their lead. Canvo and Lacroix joining Strand Larsen in the penalty area. Right on top of the goal scorer, the goalkeeper at the moment is Jurgen Strand Larsen. Michael Coyote pushing and shoving with the young Frenchman. Wharton's ball towards the back post. Lacroix with the header down. Takes it down to the penalty area. Little back heel will find Ismail Assar. Thiago tries to escape with it. Damsgaard. Here comes Dango Ouattara. Palace have plenty back, but Dango Ouattara is full of energy and pace. And Mitchell's little touch just takes all the steam out of the attempted ball inside to Eagle Thiago. Ends up in the hands of Dean Henderson. It is still goalless. in the other 3 games. That'll suit Palace. Sees them lifted up to 13th place as things stand. Old meme about Palace continuing once again. They could finish in that 12th place position if results go their way between now and the end of the season. Arsenal fans won't want to hear that, of course, because that would require a win on the final day for the Eagles. As well as a win here. Here is Sarr's ball. Again, a deflection off a Brentford body. Carries it behind for a Palace corner. It's a concerned looking Keith Andrews. Stunning in his technical area. Walton wandering across to take it. League-Brentford-Crystal will be desperate to get his name on the score sheet today. There's 4 goals for Palace so far. Most of those have come in the Conference League and in other competitions. His last goal back against Tottenham in March. Scored against Shakhtar Donetsk. A wonderful finish away in Krakow. Munoz, long ranger. It was a speculative effort, to say the least, from Tyrick Mitchell. He wasn't closed down. He was all of 35 yards from goal. It was through the legs of Eagle Thiago. Keller sprawling away to his left. It was always heading wide anyway, but he held on to it. A little back heel from Jensen. Lacroix to Henderson. First time clearance from the newly installed Palace captain. There's Lacroix. Affected away from Ouattara. Mitchell. Tough one for Sarr to take down. Get under control. Here's Riyad. Spun back to Henderson. And on clearance up towards halfway, met by Collins. Riyad jumping with Ouattara. Thiago was in an offside position. Henderson will go claim on the edge of his penalty area. A big game later on between Newcastle United and West Ham. Not necessarily from a Newcastle perspective, but certainly from a West Ham one. Their penultimate game of the season. Need a result there. Tottenham will be taking on Chelsea on Tuesday. If West Ham has to keep up the pressure on their London neighbours, they'll need to beat Newcastle. Otherwise, you'd say Tottenham only really need a draw to ensure Premier League safety next season. Here's Wharton. Pino looking for Sarr, a bit too close to Collins. He will wander out of the defence with it. Keane Lewis Potter. Janelt. Yarmuluk. Back to the Ukrainian international, Igor Yarmuluk. That ball from Damsgaard won't make its way past Daniel Munoz. Wharton. Played off to Riyad. Mitchell. Wharton. There's Damsgaard snapping at his heels. Mitchell with the aerial ball towards Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Ayer there first. Two international colleagues going up against each other. Mitchell and Kamada trying to combine to dispossess Janelt in midfield, but Brentford will keep it, and it's Ayer across to Collins. There's been a goal in one of the other fixtures. And the news is coming from Molineux, where Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are already destined for a return to the Championship, have taken the lead against Fulham, and Matheus Mane with the goal to give Wolves the lead. A scoreline that Palace fans will enjoy. Means that as things stand, Fulham now just a point ahead of them in 12th. They have to defend a free kick here, Palace. Jan Alton, Jensen standing over this. On the right hand side, will it be the left of Jan Alt or the right of Vitaly Jensen? It is Matthias Jensen with the ball into the penalty area. Well, look at the heel from JD Canvo, lifts it behind for another corner kick. The game played a fair clip, this one. Brentford still looking for their first shot on target. Janelt will take it again. Right into the heart of the 6-yard box. It was aimed at Ouattara at the near post. Got his head on the end of it, but couldn't keep it down. That's over the crossbar. Not a bad effort. Not an opportunity for Brentford there. Always a difficult skill to just get the slightest of glances on that from the in front of the near post. He's almost managed it though. Goal kick taken short to Dean Henderson, now long towards Jurgen Strand-Larsen. There's Wharton picking him up in midfield. Bounces out to the right hand side. Canvo collects for Crystal Palace. Turn back to the edge of the penalty area. McQuarrie will let it run through to his goalkeeper. Launched long again. Strand-Larsen almost backing into Christopher Ayer. Wharton bundling through goes Coyote. Ball ricochets out to this right-hand side for Dango Ouattara. It's Mitchell in pursuit. That's off Mitchell. Right, Brentford throw-in. Be a first chance for Michael Coyote to show what he can do from these long throw-ins. A bit of a meme at the start of the season, didn't it? His reputation for being able to absolutely launch the ball all of 60 metres is the record he's managed to set. He's not a one-trick pony, Coyote. There's a real engine on him. Solid defensive brain and has the ability to get up and down that flank. Thiago backing into Canvo in front of Dean Henderson. And Coyote will look for a colleague on the edge of the 6-yard box. Pino sweeps it away. Up towards halfway, Sarr is arriving. Yarmulke with a little look over his shoulder to see the Senegal international. Keller finds Ayer, who stayed forward. Coming together, Shadi Riyad got to the ball and looked like he was caught. Wharton forward, Sarr with a nod down. Strand-Larsen, can he take it with him? Will do, can't find Sarr or Pino. Both of them really made the same run, and it was behind both Palace attackers. Shadi Riyad's got back to his feet, as has Nathan Collins. Jensen finds Eagle. Thiago Collins denied by Dean Henderson. Looked like a guaranteed goal. The flag's gone up on the near side though. Well, it's tight, but it is offside. That's what he can do, Eagle Thiago. Has hit the headlines for his goal-scoring exploits. He's unselfish there as Nathan Collins stayed up. Too close to Henderson in the end, who's done well there. Riyad. Pino. Now Wharton. Forward for Kamada. Mitchell. Back to Kamada. Pino stepping inside. On the deck to Strand Larsen. Laid off to Sarr. Sarr will find Wharton. Wharton finds Riyad. Left-hand side, Daichi Kamada. Down the outside for Mitchell. Mitchell with the low cross. Pino let it run. Munoz will keep it moving on the far side of the penalty area. Here's JD Canvo. Palace forced back into their own half. Munoz to Canvo. Canvo now to Maxence Lacroix, who's got a bit more time and space in the centre circle here for Palace. Wharton. Laid off to Riyad. Riyad for Kamada. Kamada for Lacroix. Lacroix, Wharton. Wharton, Kamada. Space in front of the Japan international. Daichi Kamada. Strand Larsen chests it down. Sarr back to Strand Larsen. Will he get his shot away? He will. It's off the post. Mitchell on the follow-up. Can't force it home. Now Kamada on the edge of the box. Strand Larsen keeps the ball alive. Wharton. Strand Larsen. Another left-footed effort. This time deflection. Chani Riyad edge of the penalty area. Palace should probably lead by 2. It's the second time they've hit the woodwork, Crystal Palace. Wharton. Fouled by Eagle Thiago. Free kick for Crystal Palace. The Jurgen Strand Larsen can only smile. Kamada slipped as he played it into his chest. Ismaila Sarr received it. Vivian Keller could only turn and watch as that sailed onto the inside of the post. A centimetre in one direction, and that's pinging off the inside of the woodwork and nestling in the back of the net. 2 thumbs up for the manager in response. He's found goal scoring difficult since joining Palace, but he's certainly been appreciated by the fans and the coaching staff. His work rate especially. Seems a matter of time before it clicks for Palace. Here's Wharton. Away by Janelt. Riyad with the header. Ouattara. Thiago jumping with Munoz. Canvo backwards. Mitchell from halfway. Turns it to Dean Henderson just outside his box. Long one forward, straight down the middle. Nathan Collins rising. Wharton with the header down. Here's Strand Larsen. Tried the cute little layoff to Ismaila Sarr. How about that from Nathan Collins? Little pirouette and back heel to clear the danger. Try and set Brentford on the front foot, but he threw ball towards Eagle Thiago. Didn't quite match the quality that Collins possessed, and it's at the feet of Dean Henderson. Chani Riyad. Back to Henderson. Strand Larsen can't take it down. Jensen forward off the heels of Eagle Thiago. Matthias Jensen again. The flag's gone up again on Eagle Thiago. Ten minutes to go until the end of this first half. Big few weeks ahead for Crystal Palace and those Palace fans. You feel that a lot is riding on that final in Leipzig. The future of the club. Anthony Iraola has been linked to the managerial hot seat, which will be left vacant by Oliver Glasner when he departs in the summer. And with Chelsea signing Xabi Alonso to their job, the stars might just align for Iraola to make the move to the capital. The wisdom within SC25 is that if Palace do win the Conference League and qualify for Europe, Iraola could well be on his way to joining the club. Palace would see that as a real coup. He's confirmed that he won't be signing a new contract on the South Coast, despite the fact that they could well qualify for the Champions League this season. Very interested in the move to London, is Iraola, apparently. Corner from the far side, Brentford looking for a route back into this game. Struggled to really make an impact on Dean Henderson's goal. Haven't used the shot on target. From Nathan Collins, Henderson will punch away from his 6-yard box. Yarmulek once again given away. Pino, neat in possession. Kamada not quite so. Taken quickly by Vitali Janelt. Here's Yarmulek. Collins. Ball turned in behind for Igor Thiago. Quite wide at the moment though, the Brazilian. Let's click back into the centre of the penalty area where Kamada will lift it away. Strand Larsen tries to escape, unable to do so. Ran into Janelt. And the pass towards Ouattara was overhit by Mikkel Damsgaard. Hasn't been in his best this season, Damsgaard, you have to say. There's 4 assists this term. Off the pace at times. And carrying the knock as well. So many departures as well last summer. Really thrust into the spotlight. No Gardner, no Burmo, no Wisa. Also having Tony departing in previous years as well. Munoz. For Sarr. That's one back by Wharton. Now into Ismaila Sarr. Will he get there? Pass slightly under hit. Ayer, Munoz towards the back post. Pino was arriving. Michael Coyote with some really important defending. The slightest of touches to make sure that didn't drop to Yerim Pino, who is basically on the line there. Had a play by Lacroix. G's up the Palace travelling support. Jeremy Pino is back in his own half, but the hands are still on the head. Yarmulek, Jensen, straight to Wharton. Kamada can't keep it for Palace. Jensen, Yarmulek. It's back to Ayer. Now Quivin Keller. Collins. Keane Lewis Potter forward. Laid off by Damsgaard. Switch of play to the right hand side. Here's Yarmulek. Ayer. Janelt. Between the lines for Damsgaard. Lewis Potter will find Sedain. Here is Mikkel Damsgaard towards the back post. Coyote stayed up. Into it by Mitchell. Yarmulek. And there's the header at the back post. And parity restored for Brentford. Dango Ouattara with the header. Palace went to sleep. A big smile on the face of Dango Ouattara. His first goal for almost 100 days. And it's got Brentford back on level terms. Damsgaard searched for Michael Coyote. Beaten in the air initially by Mitchell. Pino was a little bit slow to get out to Yarmulek. It's a lovely ball towards the back post. Canvo is just caught on his heels a little bit. In fact, his header, Canvo's header, has come off of Dango Ouattara. He's gone to clear it there, JD Canvo. And it's a really unfortunate ricochet. Ouattara didn't know much about it. Put himself in the right position, the right moment. Looked a great finish. Is a great finish. Not one that Ouattara ever intended. It's Brentford 1, Palace 1. Well, into the last few minutes before the break, we'll have a little bit added on as well for that VAR review for the Ismaila Sarr penalty. And now Brentford have suddenly found their feet. Here's Eagle Thiago, drilled across the 6-yard box. And that'll trundle out of play for a Palace goal kick. It was a deeply unfortunate way for Palace to concede their lead. He was just allowed to run across the Palace back line, though, there, Dango Ouattara. But not for the first time this season. Slightly languid, shall we say, defending from Crystal Palace. 12 clean sheets across the Premier League season has been a really impressive return from Oliver Glasner's team. But especially over recent weeks, lapses in concentration just crept into their game. Last clean sheet came back towards the end of April in that 0-0 draw with West Ham United at Selhurst Park. Last time they won a game without conceding was against Wolves back in February, in the Premier League at least. Damsgaard, that's a misplaced pass and simple for JD Canvo. In fact, Shadi Riyad's going to just let that run all the way back to Dean Henderson. Here's Mitchell. Riyad spots Sarr's run, overhit pass. Well, the inquest beginning. On the bench, Oliver Glasner turning to his coaches, Mikel Ankerschmidt and Paddy McCarthy, for some answers. Ball over the top, Eagle Thiago. It's just going to skip away from him. Ends up in Dean Henderson's hands. Strong challenge from Riyad in front of Ouattara. That's flicked on by Strand Larsen, helped forward by Jensen. Four minutes of added time. Announced by the fourth official, Stephen Martin. Goal kick for Kelleher. long into the Palace half of the pitch. Lacroix with a powerful header. That's handball surely by Vitaly Janelt, and Sam Barrett spotted it. So Palace have a set piece. Just outside the centre circle, I should say. Jeremy Pino standing over it, getting ready to try and find a teammate. Plenty of them in the penalty area as well. Palace have looked potent from most of these positions. It's across the face of the penalty area. Coyote got the shout in time to let it drift out of play. And it's probably the worst set piece of the half, Palace. Jeremy Pino. Been lively. As Kelleher gets it clear. Lacroix's header drops to Pino. Touch was a bit heavy. Sarr almost latched onto a heavy touch of his own from Christopher Ayet. Breaks loose to Wharton. Now here is Pino again. Finds Munoz free on the right hand side. Again given away. Wharton once more. Spots it up. Straight at Kelleher. And a simple one for the Republic of Ireland international. Thiago. Jensen. Laid off to Janelt. Ouattara. Lewis Potter against JD Canvo, and that will be a corner kick. Comes a delivery from Matthias Jensen, punched away again by Dean Henderson. And there goes the half-time whistle to wrap up a highly competitive opening 45 minutes here in West London. If anyone expected Palace to be distracted by their upcoming European final, those thoughts vanish inside 5. It was the visitors who struck first. Ismaila Sarr stepping up to convert a coolly taken penalty, slotting it past Caoimhín Kelleher, who conceded it. It was given on review. Sam Barrett came across to the pitch side monitor and overturned his initial decision. The perfect start for Oliver Glasner's heavily rotated side. And they continue to rack up the chances across the state that first half. Ismaila Sarr and Jürgen Strand-Larsen both rattling the woodwork. There's good tempo from Palace and a good warm-up for their European exploits in 10 days' time. But Brentford's motivation for European qualification doesn't waver. Keith Andrews' side finally started to cause Palace a couple of problems, and there was a bit of fortune in the way they got back into the game. JD Canvo's clearance off of Dango Ouattara and into the top corner to level things up. Beautifully poised at the break. Vitaly Janelt anchoring the midfield well in his first start since February, while Adam Wharton has looked typically composed for the visitors. Brentford know they need a win to keep Europa Conference League and maybe Europa League hopes alive and completely in their own hands. Palace will be more than happy with that performance in the first half. We'll step aside for a few minutes, but stay with us. It's half-time at the GTEC Community Stadium, and it's Brentford 1, Palace 1. Welcome back to the G-Tech Stadium, where the players are just emerging from the tunnel. Looks like we'll see a change at the break for Crystal Palace. Brennan Johnson is stripped off and ready to come on. Two sides ready to lock horns for the final 45 minutes of Brentford's home campaign. If you are just joining us, the opening half-time scoreline reads 1-1, but it's the underlying data that really tells the story of this London derby so far. Oliver Glasner's rotated squad have looked incredibly sharp. Some of their strongest players starting today when they didn't against Manchester City. They've racked up an impressive 13 shots across that opening 45 minutes, forcing Quivinkelo into 4 crucial saves. They've rocked the woodwork twice as well. Ismail Assar's penalty gave them the lead. A lead that was wiped out after JD Cambo's header cannoned off of Dango Ouattara into the corner of the net to give Brentford parity again. Now back underway for Keith Andrews and his history chasing Brentford side. The task now is to absorb those warning signs and weather the storm. They adjusted to find the equaliser just before the interval, but with 8th place and that coveted European passport hanging in the balance, a single point just isn't enough for them. They need to find a way to shut down a Palace side that looked up for it in the first half. And there is confirmation of the change as well. Jeremy Pino withdrawn, Brennan Johnson on as a half-time substitute for the Eagles. He's Acquire on the edge of the penalty area. Cleared down the right-hand side, and now to play for a Brentford throw-in. Quickly scooped up by Nathan Collins. Coyote has come trotting across from the opposite side of the pitch. Well, Brennan Johnson still awaiting his first goal as a Palace player. And you sense that Oliver Glasner's trying to give him as many opportunities as possible before that trip to Leipzig in 10 days' time to really get a bit of confidence, something he's been severely lacking in over the past, since joining the club in January. Lacroix goes down after the long throw from Coyote, holding his face here, Maxence Lacroix. He was wrestling with Collins. It actually came off the heel of Christopher Ayer and onto Lacroix's face from a short distance. It was Collins, in fact, with a touch. Well, changed things up a little bit for Palace in terms of personnel. Henderson in goal, Canvo, Lacroix and Riyad the back three, Munoz and Mitchell the wing backs, Wharton and Kamada the two in midfield, Ismail Assar and now Brennan Johnson the two attacking midfielders behind Jurgen Strand-Larsen. One or two Palace players to wrap the woodwork in that first half. A couple of chances for Ismail Assar, who moved to 21 goals in all competitions for the season in that first half. No substitutions at the break for Brentford. So it's Quivinkelo in goal. From left to right across the back, Lewis, Potter, Collins, Ayer and Coyote. Janelt and Yarmiluk holding in midfield. Damsgaard, Jensen and Ouattara offering support to Eagle Thiago. Well, the car's been patched up and looks all right to continue. Or a restart with a drop ball at the feet of Vitaly Janelt. Ultimate weekend of Premier League football. An equaliser, Wolves levelling things up at Molineux. Well, Everton have taken the lead against Sunderland. It's an important scoreline for Brentford's hopes of finishing in that top 8. As things stand, if it was to finish all square here at the G-Tech and Everton went on to beat Sunderland, it would mean that Everton and Brentford will be level on points. Brentford in that 8th position by way of a very slightly better goal difference, just 2 better than Everton. Defeat today for Brentford would see them drop out of the top 8 and allow Everton to sneak in. And we'll try and keep you abreast of all the permutations of all the games across the grounds today at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It's Merlin Roll who has scored the opener for Everton just before the break there. Also means that Sunderland are within touching distance of Crystal Palace. Palace on 44 coming into today. Sunderland on 48. A point or better would mean a win on the final day would see Palace finish level on points with Sunderland, but they've got a bit of goal difference. And Sunderland didn't better their result on the final day. Long from Coyote, from halfway through Palace territory into the penalty area. It's away by Mitchell. Canvo with the clearance. Back to Kelleher. Forward by Yarmuluk. Canvo wrestling with Thiago. Flashed away by Lacroix. Drops into midfield for Johnson. Johnson for Mitchell. Mitchell turns backwards. Gives it straight to Jensen. Ouattara passes behind Thiago. Canvo. Now Munoz. Up towards Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Ricochet off Nathan Collins will bounce back to the goalkeeper, Quivin Kelleher. There's a huge slice of luck in the way that Brentford scored their equaliser. Dango Ouattara knew much about it. In real time, looked a fine finish from the Burkina Faso international. The replay showed that she came off JD Cambo first, and Ouattara just happened to be in the right place at the right time. There's Munoz, finds Sarr inside the Brentford half of the pitch for the first time in this second half. Palace. And Munoz again on the right hand side. Sarr will let that run to JD Cambo. Munoz again finds Wharton. But how long it'll be before he departs. Riyad. Mitchell. Wharton. Just outside the centre circle. Bypasses Thiago to feed Maxence Lacroix. Spears one forward to Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Wharton. Out to the left hand side for Tyreek Mitchell. Strand-Larsen. Shows for it. Looks for Johnson. Good challenge on the edge of the penalty area by Kamada. Here it is again. Daichi Kamada bounces off Michael Coyote. No foul. Maybe Brennan Johnson across the face of goal. Will drop here to Daniel Munoz. Deflection off a Brentford body. Wharton edge of the penalty area. Wharton low! And it's through the goalkeeper, Quivin Kelleher. Adam Wharton has scored his first ever goal for Crystal Palace. A huge smile on the Blackburn Rovers Academy graduate. After almost 100 appearances for the Eagles, he's finally found the back of the net. Palace restore their lead. A grimace on the face of Quivin Kelleher, who really should do better here. Brennan Johnson is onside initially in the build-up. It's a good challenge from Kamada to keep it moving. Goes down rather cheaply, was booked in midweek against Manchester City for a dive. Just bounced off Coyote. Brentford hesitated for a moment. Munoz kept it moving, laid it off to Adam Wharton. Speared through a crowd of bodies. It was pretty central in the end. He's not got the best view of it, Quivin Kelleher. Ismaila Sarr gets out of the way. That's a tough one for the goalkeeper to take. He's got down low to his right, but can't do much more and get a big right hand on it. And that's in the back of the net. The Palace's second of the afternoon. Adam Wharton, for the first time in Palace colours, backflips away towards the corner flag. It's Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 2. Well, he's been their creator-in-chief this season with 5 assists in the Premier League. And as we mentioned, that's the first time he's ever scored for Crystal Palace. He's been a player who's been coveted by so many so-called bigger clubs across the leagues. Adam Wharton, he'll go for big money if he does move in the summer. You can understand why Palace fans rate him so highly. That's been the one blot on his otherwise unmarked copybook. In Palace colours, Adam Wharton. Well, it's a foul by Maxence Lacroix on Matthias Jensen. 25-30 odd yards from goal. That's exactly what Brentford had hoped to avoid in this second half. Well, credit to Daichi Kamada as well in the build-up to the goal. Lost his footing under pressure from Michael Coyote. But he's done well to keep the ball moving from a prostrate position. And that goal means Everton drop out of the top 8 at the expense, well, with Everton moving above them thanks to that goal from Merlin Roll over on Merseyside. Damsgaard towards the far side of the penalty area. There was a tangle there. Ismail Assar wrapped up with Nathan Collins. Brentford's turn now to surround the referee, Sam Barrett. Well, Daniel Munoz didn't know he was there. He reached out and did seem to catch Collins on the face. Not sure there's any intent at all from Daniel Munoz. The referee's chalked it up as a coming together. Brentford starting to prepare some reinforcements. Kevin Schade is wandering down from the dugout. Sure he'll be coming on shortly. Lewis Potter wouldn't quite settle for him, allowed Munoz to get tight. One more year, Adam Wharton is the song from the travelling Palace fans. It's the reality of being a supporter of a club of Palace and Brentford stature, is when you find gems like the likes of Adam Wharton, the likes of Ebereeze, Michael Olise previously as well. You understand they won't be around forever. You have to appreciate their time at your club, their contributions, and celebrate their successes when they go on to bigger and better things. So many Palace graduates who have moved on to so-called bigger clubs. I've done so. Michael Olise lifting the Bundesliga this season, just a few days ago in fact, setting records in the process. Ebereeze on the verge of becoming a Premier League champion with Arsenal. Palace will have a hand in that on the last day of the season. That slip through to Thiago, good work by Lacroix just to get his body across and toe poke it back to Henderson. You do wonder what the future holds for Adam Wharton, the 22-year-old. There's Coyote on the right-hand side. Janelt forward, gets it back off Ouattara. Here's Vitaly Janelt again, looks for the through ball to Igor Thiago. Across goes JD Canvo. Mitchell clears from the touchline. Strand Larsen's header back to Ismaila Daichi Kamado. Ismaila Sarr was stretching. Couldn't keep it. It's Collins that moves it on to Keane Lewis Potter. Shifted onto his right towards the back post. Brave from Henderson, diving in and punching it away. His body's flying at the far post. Here's Strand Larsen in a tangle with Christopher Ayer near the halfway line. Arms outstretched, pleading with the referee. Felt that it was being dragged down by his international colleague there, Jurgen Strand Larsen. Here's Ouattara. It's a corner kick off Mitchell. 17,213 in attendance this afternoon at the G-Tech Stadium. Just 37 people off capacity. It's a tight, compact little ground here, right on the edge of the Hammersmith flyover in West London. A unique little stadium. They have the scope to be able to expand it if they want to. It's surrounded by flats, and it really is almost shoehorned in here in West London. What changes here for Palace is Chris Richards is going to replace Maxence Lacroix as Oliver Glasner opts to protect one of his most important defenders. Brings another one of his first choice centre-backs in the American international Chris Richards. And it's also the end of the afternoon for Jurgen Strand Larsen, who is still continuing his debate with the officials. Felt that he was being wrestled to the ground on halfway as he gives way to make way for Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's come close this afternoon a couple of times, Jurgen Strand Larsen, particularly in the first half where he shot the inside of the post. Brentford set piece. Janelt high towards the back post. Thiago heads it back across the face of goal, and that's hammered away by Daniel Munoz on the volley. Here's the Michael Coyote. Kelleher all the way through to Dean Henderson. Come on, goalkeeper, 2-0. Palace have just introduced their top league goal scorer, Jean-Philippe Mateta, 11 for the season. And one of the statistics doing the rounds before this game was Palace's expected goals differential. No team has underperformed their expected goals more than Crystal Palace this season. Ahead of today, they'd scored 38 goals, but the metrics say they should have scored over 50, and Jean-Philippe Mateta's profligacy in front of goal is doing a major part of that. When he's on 11, he could be close to equal Thiago's totals. Changes now for Brentford. Off goes Matthias Jensen and Vitaly Janelt, and on comes Jordan Henderson and Kevin Schade. Henderson's been on the sidelines for a significant period over recent weeks. He's missed 5 games since the end of March. He's just started to come back into contention over recent weeks with minutes from the bench. On as a substitute against Manchester City in that 3-0 defeat last weekend. Here's Ayer. Finds Coyote out on the right-hand side. Resolute and well organised here, Palace. Well, you'd forgive them for not necessarily being as committed. Coyote. Henderson. Flashes one down the right-hand side, and it bounces over the byline. Watched on by Dean Henderson for another goal kick. Swaps up for another goal kick here, Palace. Dean Henderson with the Long clearance. Aimed at Jean-Philippe Mateta, backing into Collins. Keane Lewis Potter. Collects in the left-back position. Wharton stretches, flicks it onto Daichi Kamada in the centre circle. Riyad. Over the top. By Henderson, all the way through to Collins. Lewis Potter. Yarmolyuk. And Coyote again, back to Kelleher. Collins. Here's Keane Lewis Potter. Jordan Henderson. Yarmolyuk in the centre circle. Lewis Potter down the left. Finds Schade. Without a play by Tyrick Mitchell. Jamie Campbell that was in fact with the defending. And Daniel Munoz has the ball tucked under his arm, ready to get it back into play for Crystal Palace from the throw-in. The Palace have already made 3 changes. They've also got Evan Guessant on the bench today, back involved. He's on loan from Aston Villa. He's been sidelined since the 9th of April with a knee injury. Arthur Glasner was talking about his hopes that they can get him fit and firing again as an option for Leipzig. Could achieve a unique feat as well if he wins the Conference League with Crystal Palace and Aston Villa go on to win the Europa League. He could end up with winners' medals in both of those competitions. It's known to be suitors of Evan Guessant on a permanent basis. Seen by Chris Richards towards the near post, flicked on by Brendan Johnson. Almost dropped there for Daichi Kamada. Smashed away by Christopher Ayer. Let's also have Walter Benitez, the goalkeeper, Nathaniel Klein, Jefferson Lerma, Will Hughes and Justin Deviney on the bench. They will not make any further changes today. 2 changes already for Brentford. Who's come Henderson and Schade a few moments ago. They've also got Hakon Valdimarsson, the substitute goalkeeper, Sepp Vandenberg, Aaron Hickey, Ethan Pinnock. Defenders Josh Silva made an emotional return to first-team duties after over 800 days out. Reece Nelson and Kay Firo, the 2 attackers remaining on the bench for Keith Andrews' side. As it stands as well, with no change in the scoreline between Leeds and Brighton and Hove Albion, they would be sitting in 8th, because we can bring you news of an equaliser at the Dickinson Hill Stadium. It's Brian Brobby, the Dutchman, who was scored on the hour mark for Sunderland. So Europe still within reach for Brentford, despite the fact they trail Crystal Palace at the G-Tech Stadium by 2-1. Kelleher, Yarmolyuk, Henderson, Ayer, back to Kelleher. Bit of frustration from the Brentford supporters that it's spending so long in their half at the moment. Lofted forward by Schade, Riyad. Drops to Johnson, now Wharton. Turning back his convo. Richards. Kamada. Wharton. Turns it in behind. Munoz running onto it. Flag has stayed down for the moment. Munoz towards the back post. Too high. Little flick on it was there from Quivin Kelleher. Now the flag goes up on Daniel Munoz. He just went a bit early. The Colombian international. It's pretty clear offside in the end as well. You can see he's just trying to float that towards the back post where Sarr was lurking. Quivin Kelleher has crossed the big left hand on it to pour it away. Lewis Potter. Underneath it, Chris Richards. Kamada back into his own penalty area for Henderson. Tara keeps him honest. It's picked up off the deck by the England international. And towards Mateta, eyes headed down. Henderson was under pressure. Sarr will follow it all the way through to Quivin Kelleher. Wharton. Munoz tries to poke it round the corner for Mateta. He's making Ajer work hard there. He wants a foul as the Brentford defender. Palace have the throw-in out on the left-hand side. He wants a goal, Brennan Johnson. He's gone to collect the ball from that left flank. Going to hand it over to Chris Richards. You can just see him mouth to himself, come on. Chris Richards is Palace's exponent of the long throw, and he's wandered up towards that far side to launch this one into the penalty area. Richards towards the near post. That's away by Igor Thiago. Kamada leaves it to Munoz. Thought about it, took it on, and it's over the crossbar. Rafa Glasner has just brought the referee's attention to the fact that Shani Riyad is down. He's taking a seated position inside his own half of the pitch. Whenever you see Riyad go down, it's always a concern from a Palace perspective because there's such an awful record with injury. We are going to make a change here as well, Crystal Palace. Jefferson Lerma is about to come on. Whether that is for Shadi Riyad or change things up in the middle of the park remains to be seen. He's flexible in the way he's deployed. Jefferson Lerma can play as one of those three defenders or in midfield as a central midfielder. Looks like it will be for Shadi Riyad. Seems to just tweak something as he cleared the ball away. So it's Lerma on. And he will slot into defence, I'm sure, here. On from Kelleher. Flicked on by Thiago. Canvo wrestling with Schade. Here's Munoz. Sarr, first time forward by Wharton. Slightly behind Jean-Philippe Mateta though. Damsgaard dispossessed by Kamada in midfield. Here's Canvo driving forward. Laid off to Kamada. Lerma down the left for Mitchell. Tries to feed Johnson. Ajer sliding across. Palace with the throw in. Third again to Sepp Vandenberg, Christopher Ayer. There's Richards, long towards the near post, again away by Igor Thiago. That's a thumping header, almost reached halfway. Munoz with the up and under. It's easily claimed by Krivine Keller on the penalty spot. Tosses it out towards the near side for Keane Lewis Potter. He's to the outside of his right boot to find Kevin Schade. Schade runs into Adam Wharton. Now here's Daichi Kamada down the outside. Right flank is Ismail Assar. Assar looks in field towards Jean-Philippe Mateta. He let it run. It's behind Johnson. Be kept in play by Tyreek Mitchell on the far side. Here's Daichi Kamada. Wharton. Kamada. Back to Jefferson Lerma. Lerma for Henderson on the edge of his penalty area. Straight down the middle. Headed away by Yarmuluk. Richards. Moves the ball on the edge of the Palace box, and an almighty coming together with Igor Thiago. And Palace have another defender down. He's just gone over on his left ankle there, Richards, as he returns to earth. Just a little elbow in the back, knocked him off balance there from Igor Thiago. Maybe a free kick for Crystal Palace, just outside the penalty area, but a concern for Oliver Glasner. Chris Richards not the type to go down and stay down unless there's something actually wrong with him. Still getting ever so tight in the chase for 8th place. Brentford currently occupying that position at the moment. Behind them, Everton, Chelsea, Fulham and Sunderland, all with a chance of finishing in the top 8. Such a sore one for Chris Richards. With Shadi Riyad hobbling off. I feel for Oliver Glasner and Palace fans if this is another defender that goes down injured. They are hurriedly preparing Nathaniel Klein to come on here. He came on as a substitute, Chris Richards, not long ago. Right at the hour mark. He is back on his feet. That right knee is heavily strapped as well. It's his left ankle that's giving him a bit of trouble after coming together with Igor Thiago. Palace reorganising themselves in the absence of Chris Richards. They'll shuffle into a back 4 for the time being, with Mitchell on the left, Munoz on the right, and Canvo and Lerma the 2 centre halves. Here's Collins for Brentford. An opportunity for them at the moment. The Bees looking to sting Palace with the Eagles down to just 10. Richards comes jogging back on, albeit with a bit of a grimace on his face. He's not moving comfortably, Richards. Towards Mateta. Lashed away by Ayer. Toe to it by Canvo. Volley clear by Chris Richards, his first involvement. He made contact with the ball, Richards. He immediately dropped his head, looked to the floor. It's causing him some issues there. That little tweak to the ankle. Back heel from Damsgaard, down the line. Lewis Potter, that's against Canvo. Coyote's going to take the throw in. 10 minutes to go. Just to ease some Brentford fears. A little, maybe. Everton are now losing at home to Sunderland. Enzo Lefebvre, after 81 minutes, giving Sunderland the lead at the Dickinson Hill Stadium. Now, while that puts Sunderland level on points as things stand with Brentford, it also means that while Everton's goal difference was slightly better, slightly worse than Brentford's, Sunderland's is significantly worse. -8 to Brentford's +2. Henderson's ball. Away by Lerma from the 6-yard box. Coyote. Yarmolyuk. Ouattara. High towards the back post, they're queuing up. Thiago is there. Munoz got his head to it. Laid off by Henderson, edge of the penalty area. Keen Lewis Potter. Tried the curling effort. Henderson was worried for a moment. Not too far away from Lewis Potter. Munoz felt he was knocked off balance by Eagle Thiago in mid-air. Real desire from Adam Wharton came flying out to try and get in the way. Two of them, in fact, in that gold Palace changed strip. Hopefully going to make a change. Christopher Ayer going off. Sepp van den Berg coming on. Too long for Mateta. Throw in for Brentford, this time inside their own half. On the touchline. Flicked up by Canvo. And dropped to Schade here. He's on his way down as he still turned it down the left-hand side for Thiago. Held up by JD Canvo. There's a yellow card. Brandished by Sam Barrett to Chris Richards. Really had wrapped up Kevin Schade there. Referee tried to play the advantage. Nothing materialised. Damsgaard and Henderson. Both standing over the set piece. Out on this left-hand side, 35 yards from goal. Henderson runs past it. Damsgaard towards the back post. Sarr compelled to act. Ouattara pushed away by Henderson. Another great save from the Palace captain. Could have just let that drift out of play. Ismaila Sarr, the header dropped to Dango Ouattara. And Dean Henderson, as that curled through a crowd of bodies, got to his right, pushed it away. It's Damsgaard underneath the crossbar, well, that's headed away by Canvo. Johnson volleys it clear. Awkward from Kelleher. Bouncing away towards the far side. Yarmuluk is getting back. And Kelleher again. His distribution's not been the best today. That one bouncing out of play on the near side for a Palace throw-in. Further down the touchline now for Munoz. It's beyond Mateta. Vandenberg's clearance, bouncing into the dugouts. Palace inching their way down this line now. This time Munoz will find Mateta. Holding off keen Lewis Potter. Gets past him as well. Mateta to the edge of the box, cushioned down by Mitchell. Try to tee one up for Brennan Johnson. Goes down, felt he was tugged. Probably could have stayed on his feet and fashioned an opportunity for himself there, Brennan Johnson. Instead it's Brentford that come away on the counter-attack. Schade now left-hand side of the penalty area. Schade plays it back to Damsgaard. Palace have got bodies back. Henderson across to Ouattara. And he turned into trouble. Ironically, Brennan Johnson it is breaking things up for Palace on the edge of the box. Lewis Potter left-hand side now. It's Wharton in his way. Lewis Potter. Mikel Damsgaard tries to float one out to the far edge of the box where Ouattara's touch is heavy. Will still keep it in play, but at the expense of possession. Here it is with Jefferson Lerma. Long towards Mateta. Collins' header is into the centre circle. That's picked up by Yarmuluk. It's back to Quivin Kelleher. Right hand side now is Sepp Vandenberg. Halfway with Jordan Henderson. Damsgaard. Laid off by Yarmuluk. Coyote. Ouattara. Yarmuluk. And picked off on the edge of the 6-yard box by JD Canvo. Excellent reading of the game by the 19-year-old. As Richards went across to close, Canvo just filled the space in front of Kevin Schade. Well, you can understand why Brennan Johnson went to ground in the penalty area. Having looked at the replay, there was a big handful of Ihor Yarmuluk, of his shirt from Ihor Yarmuluk, and well, Brentford have levelled things up late on. It's Ouattara again. Coyote with a long throw. Flicked on by Vandenberg, and Ouattara rose in the 6-yard box. Above Daniel Munoz. The long throw pays off again for Brentford. Should be a penalty for Palace at the other end before that. Brennan Johnson was clearly tugged down by Yarmuluk. You can see why he went to ground. Sam Barrett waved him on. Defending needs to be better from Crystal Palace there. But Brentford looked like they've at least salvaged a point, and Ouattara almost escaped there. Jefferson Lerma wrapped an arm around his waist. It looked like he was going to burst through. It's only a yellow card for Jefferson Lerma. One minute to go. Brentford still with a chance to win this. If they get this set piece right. We're in the 90th minute at the GTEC Stadium. Josh Da Silva is on as a replacement for Yarmuluk. Henderson short. Floated back into the box. Away by Mitchell. And here he is again, Tyrick Mitchell. Forward for Kamada. Sharp from Damsgaard, because Palace had an overload there. Damsgaard down the left-hand side. Coyote keeps it in play, but Mitchell collects it for Palace. Here's Convo. How much time will we have added on? Launched clear by Mitchell. 10 minutes of added time. I don't quite understand where they found 10 minutes, especially in this second half. But they have. And it was greeted with an almighty roar from around the G-Tech Stadium. And this might be as well, because here's Damsgaard towards the back post. Munoz with his head to it in front of Dango Ouattara. Sunderland have added a third goal. Coyote into the 6-yard box. Sharda's been left in a heap in the penalty area. Here's Keane Lewis-Potter. Deflection. Palace get it away. Not far enough, though, to clear the danger. Sharda with the hammered effort. Wide and high and nowhere near challenging Henderson. Brentford appeal for a penalty. It's all getting a bit fraught out there now. It was Adam Wharton in the tangle with Kevin Sharda initially. That's where the first Brentford complaints came from. There's no foul there for me. Kevin Sharda's dragged Adam Wharton down, rather than the other way around. Yeah, the Dickinson Hill Stadium is Everton 1, Sunderland 3. Well, Sam Barrett was just listening to the VAR's recommendations. And this is a welcome sight for Palace fans. Ismail Assar withdrawn. Evan Gessan on for his first appearance since early April. Went off with a knee injury in the Europa Conference League game. Looks back right in the nick of time to be involved in Leipzig. Can be a handful when he gets it right, Gessan. Lewis-Potter's throw down the line for Thiago. Now Sharda. And he's fouled Mitchell in his desire to win that back for Brentford. JD Cambo, who bore the brunt of Kevin Sharda's perseverance. Long clearance from Dean Henderson. Looking for Mateta. Hasn't been able to win the ball very often since coming on. Seth Vandenberg will put that on a play. Palace will have the throw in midway through Brentford territory. Munoz. Looked for Brennan Johnson. Tidy work from Damsgaard. Back to Henderson. Across the face of his own box to Coyote. Vandenberg has to be careful. Finds Thiago in the centre circle. Laid off to Damsgaard left-hand side. Palace starting to retreat now. Damsgaard's forward pass cut out by Adam Wharton. Now here's Keane Lewis-Potter on the left. Down the line, Damsgaard in the penalty area. The pullback And it's over the crossbar from Eagle Thiago. Brentford felt there was a touch. Sam Barrett disagrees. Had time, Damsgaard, to pick his spot. De Silva fluffs his lines, helps it on his way towards Eagle Thiago. We'll have a look at the replay. There are two bodies sprawling in front of him. Calvo and Richards both looking to get in the way. We've played 5 minutes of added time, 5 more to go, at least. Mateta rises above Vandenberg. Here's Thiago. Schade in a wrestling match with Camvo. Gives it away to Eagle Thiago. Space on the left-hand side. Pulled back. Kevin Schade. It's straight at Lerma, who's hacked down by Schade. Yellow card shown to Michael Coyote in the aftermath of that. That means he'll miss the game against Liverpool. That's a big miss for Keith Andrews' side. Well, a tense final 4 minutes now. Dean Henderson also booked for time wasting. There's Kamada. Won't reach Gessa. Here's Coyote. Ayer. Lewis Potter. Henderson. Vandenberg. Squeezed down the touchline by Coyote. Couldn't keep it in play there, Josh De Silva. So the throw-in goes Palace's way. Collins to Vandenberg. And again, it's not tidy enough from a Brentford perspective. Mateta holds it up far side. Alice with the throw in again. Jefferson Lerma himself with a long throw. Flicked on by Gessa. Might drop to Mateta. Poked away by Lewis Potter. Forward towards Thiago. Richards back to Henderson. Had a play on the near side for another Brentford throw-in. Damsgaard finds Schade. Canvo in the way. Damsgaard will have a set piece into the final minutes of added time. Damsgaard with a curling effort towards the back post. A great chance for Sepp Vandenberg. That would have been a great opportunity for Brentford. And that might be their last chance, you know. Gessan takes it down. Wharton. Flicked out to the left for Mitchell. Mitchell into the box. Kamada looking for Wharton with the effort. Against Brentford legs. Sam Barrett will let them continue. Sharda goes down cheaply. Sam Barrett waves him back to his feet. Here's Daniel Munoz's clearance. All the way through to Quivin Kelleher. A check of the watch from the referee. De Silva. Kamada on the edge of the penalty area. Gessan. Carrying clear for Palace. Turns back. Was he fouled? No, he wasn't. Ouattara ran into Kamada. Henderson. Dango Ouattara. Henderson. Up in the air from Gessan on the edge of his own box. Thiago juggles. Smashed away by JD Canvo. And there goes the final whistle to bring a breathless, completely unpredictable 90 minutes to a close here in West London. If anyone expected Oliver Glasner's heavily rotated side to roll over with their minds already on Leipzig, the reality on the pitch completely shattered that script. Palace was stubborn, direct and incredibly clinical. They struck inside 5 minutes through Ismail Assar's coolly taken penalty. And even after Dango Ouattara pulled Brentford level before the break, the visitors struck again early in the second half. Adam Wharton, with his first ever goal for Crystal Palace, found the back of the net. Keith Andrews' side refused to let their final home game of the campaign end defeat. They were clinging to that intense motivation for a historic European passport. The Bees dug deep into their reserves of resilience. Brennan Johnson was tugged down in the penalty area. Sam Barrett seemed to have a clear view of the handful of shirt that Yarmuluk had of Johnson. And the penalty appeals were waved away. Brentford went down the other end and levelled things up. Michael Coyote's long throw flicked on by Sepp van den Berg, and Dango Ouattara nodded home pretty much on the line for his second of the afternoon from close range. That set up a real grandstand finish. Brentford, though, couldn't find the winner. All is not lost, though. They will head into the final weekend of the season hoping for some sort of result against Liverpool in their final game away at Anfield. As it stands, Sunderland will face Chelsea. The two in 9th and 10th. Brentford will at least finish above their West London rivals if they can pick up a point away at Anfield. But it's ever so tight for that final European place. Brentford came looking for a win, knowing that their trip to Merseyside next weekend will be a tough one. Palace with a free hit really this afternoon, showing their fans that the performance against Manchester City was a bit of a blip. Today, much better, much more clinical. They welcomed a few back, maybe some injury concerns as well. There's a few hobbled off. But a moment to remember for those that did make the trip across town to West London. Adam Wharton with his first goal in Palace colours. They turn kingmakers next weekend. Arsenal the visitors to Selhurst Park. You'd expect Manchester City to probably pick up a result against Bournemouth to leave it to the final day. If Palace can cause Arsenal problems and avoid defeat, you never know what happens. Their concentration nonetheless will be on Leipzig in 10 days' time. Could be a moment of history for Palace in Germany. Could well be a moment of history for Brentford in the Premier League next weekend. A 4-goal London derby thriller that gave us absolutely everything. Final score at the G-Tech. It's finished. Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 2.